Tom, and I have got a round 2 model review for you.
The neck on the Refit is a little bit twisted off to the side because of the way it's resting. And trying to figure out where I was going to line it up, I finally decided to do it on the end caps. So these are pretty much the same distance down there, and as we go forward on the ship, bam, this dish really takes over. In fact, I would not be surprised if this dish is pretty close to what a TOS dreadnought should be as far as size go, and in which case it probably would not be too difficult to modify this dish into a dreadnought dish for that, and maybe even the rest of the body as well. That's definitely something to think about, because a dreadnought at 1/350, damn, I think an Excelsior at 1/350 would probably be about as big as this table, and let's face it, there's no plastic injection company that's going to be building one of those. Not for any reasonable price, and not for any reasonable amount of kits in a run. So I think that's going to have to be left to the aftermarketers to deal with eventually. I'd certainly love a 1/350 Excelsior, but let's face it, it's just not feasible. 1/350 Reliant, go, go, go. But anyway, back to these two, and off of that little dream scheme. Bridges are pretty much the same size. I did pretty much part by part how they compared. I got one request on one of the forums to compare the grid lines themselves to each other to see how those look, so I'll pop the tops off of each of those saucers and do those side by side right now. And yeah, it's really nice to see these two together, and that is going to make a very nice display. Let me rearrange them a little here real quick. Well, I can't physically get them too much closer to each other. However, this Refit saucer simply dwarfs the original. It's amazing how much that little bit of a difference in size can impact an area of volume such as this, as it is. Everything about the Refit is just big. And it's so good to see these two together after so long waiting. If I could get them to balance better, I'd love to do some different shots. In fact, let me flip them upside down. I'm sure that will help a little as well. I do wish I could get further away for a much better shot of these two together. So just about lining up the saucer with the nacelle there. Refit comes out to just about 35 inches. And the TOS comes out to just about 33, a little shy of that. Handling the Refit, well, handling the original one for the last couple days, it feels relatively solid even though it's just barely taped together. Handling the Refit next to that, especially the few little pins they used to put the neck together, that feels so delicate. I have one more of these and I actually broke a couple pins off by accident handling that one. So far so good on this one. Had they done a similar neck trick on this, that would have been a really solid and tight connection. But the Refit pretty much does stay together all by itself with very little tape. And another thing is too bad is that they couldn't do the Refit, the sidewalls, like they did over here. And Jamie, really thank you for doing it this way, because it just wouldn't have looked good if we had to do it this way. All the sensor bands that go around here, trying to get those right, it's not impossible, but gosh darn if it's not pretty close to do it really, really well. And I kind of doubt you guys will ever be able to redo the bottom saucer more like this, even though it has those window inserts to deal with. Well, anyhow, I think that's it for these two, and I do have one last surprise to look at really, really quick. It's a 1/350 scale, reputedly 1/350 scale. Let's get to it. Hey, check check that out. Look at that balance. All by itself. No tape, no strings, no magnets, no magic. Talk about a well-balanced model. Well, let's face it, it isn't fully put together yet. However, that is nice. Very, very, very nice. And I promised you a surprise. Some people like the kit, some don't. Personally, I definitely like it, and I'm very glad I own it. It's not in the best condition at the moment because I haven't finished it yet and worked on it in nearly 2 years. But the 1350 Romulan Bird of Prey. This is in fact the vacuformed version, which also gets some derision going around depending on what circles you're traveling in. But again, I like it. I had never built a vacuform kit before, and I definitely learned a few harsh lessons on this one. But now that the 1350 refit, or 350 refit, 350 original is here, I am very, very happy and glad that I have this guy. And the cells are, well, they almost start off quite just as big, but not quite. The Bird of Prey was certainly always supposed to be much smaller than Enterprise, and this definitely shows how much smaller. There is some question about how accurate the scale is on this guy here, but I'm willing to give it to him. The windows are just about the same size. You may not be able to see them because they're all masked off on the BOP, but they are pretty close, if not dead on the same. 2 or 3 decks in the BOP, 2 or 3 decks in the Enterprise. See if I can get her balanced again. Wow. It balances itself practically. And there we have it. 3 1350 Enterprises and a Bird of Prey. I'm certainly hoping that I'll be able to find a 350 tall ship and a 350 space shuttle. Definitely the space shuttle is going to be nearly impossible, and I'm sure it won't be too much bigger than probably 2 of these little guys next to each other end to end. But it'll be worth it to have it. And a 350 tall ship Enterprise, that would definitely be a nice piece to include in this collection. So that's it for the side-by-sides. Next up, we've got the wrap-up video.